There are so many elements that make the perfect horror moment.
Why do we watch horror films? There are thrills in the illicit.
You have goosebumps, you are terrified.
It just descends into absolute mayhem.
And those arms flew off. That was incredible.
Jordan Peele obviously gets the terror along with the levity much better than anyone.
The screams that must have erupted in theaters.
Just sheer terror.
The scariest movie that's ever been made.
What is going on, everybody? Garrett back here, and you are watching episode 5 of our little 101 Scariest Movie Moments brought to you by Shudder, and we are reviewing each episode one by one. We are in the top 50 now, and as always, I am here with one half of the Dead Pit. Uncle Bill is here. What's up, brother?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to be back here. This has been like one of my favorite things to do because I love these kind of list shows. I can kind of see why people are all about these on YouTube and stuff. They're contagious. You get into them, you start watching them, and you want to know, what everybody's picks are, even if I don't agree with a lot of the picks. But yeah.
Well, it's funny because you like these lists, so now all of a sudden after we're done this, we can start doing more rankings. People like that stuff, So this is the gateway into the ranking stuff.
Some people, that's all they do. They love to rank shit. They're like,
I don't want to rank 101 movies, I'll tell you that much. So I don't know what was going on during that board meeting, but we got a pretty polarizing list this week, gang. We are on the top 50 now. We're on the big boys. Like, this is where I thought we were going to start seeing a lot of the heavy hitters, and some of the heavy hitters, in my opinion, came between 50 and 100. So it's an interesting list this week. And what do you think about the list we're going to talk about?
It's all over the place, man. Like we were saying, I cannot pinpoint what they're doing. A lot of these I feel like would be in my list, in my world, and in the people that watches the show's world would be either much higher or much lower. And it just seems like you can't figure out. They're throwing in new movies and really older movies and 80s movies, and it just seems like it's all over the place. But it's interesting, at least. I never know what to expect.
Yeah, man, for sure. But before we get into it, a couple things. Let's go through the chat, see who's in the house. And gang, while we're doing that, I never say this early, but let's do it now. Let's super kick that like button over there. If you're watching it on my side, on the Born to Be Rad side, or if you're watching on the Dead Pit side, smash the likes. Make sure you're subbed to both channels. And we'll go through the list now and just say what's up to some of the people who are popping in right off the bat here.
Well, right now, one of my favorite all-time.
Anthony.
Big Ant. So he says that he wants to thank us for making these more entertaining. And I kind of agree with that because they keep talking to the same 5 people on this, and 3 of them are really fucking boring. I'm going to just tell you. So, on the actual show, Saturn Videos in the house. Have you here, man? Betamax fan. Now, that's one. I don't remember that one, but.
Yeah, what's up? Welcome.
Yeah. Scratch Burno again. I always want to say Bruno. I don't know why.
Scratch Bruno.
And then we got Scott from Scott's Wrestling Collection.
Yeah, I don't. Is this it? Is this it?
Yeah.
Is that the thing?
But these people talking about David Lynch made me want to end my life. Jesus. I mean, I got to admit, you could have held a gun to my head and had me pick 500 things I thought would be on that list, and that would not have been one of them.
Agree. To me though, it opens doors for other things though.
That's true. Yeah.
You know?
Punisher Batman fans here. Stuntman Mark, as always, good to have you on here, man.
Something.
Raised on Fiction, it's great to have you. Michigan Dipper. Jesse Swarbrick.
What up?
Alpha Romero's in the house over here. And, of course, one of the all-time classic fan faves, Carter's Redemption.
What's up, man?
Suspiria Night. Your favorite and mine. Bug-Eye Betty is here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I get to be Marty Jannetty, so at some point I'm gonna like get super kicked through a window and then get on crack. That's great.
Do you remember back in the day they had this cool Shawn Michaels shirt? It was like kind of like an all over print and it said like Heartbreak Hotel and it had like his
Yes.
image on it.
Yeah.
Some company came out with that exact same shirt and it had Marty's picture and it said Super 8 Motel like on the back.
That's perfect.
I was like, that's so killer.
Oh. You remember not too long ago he kind of lost it and he was talking about murdering somebody or something.
Yeah.
Like it was like about a year ago.
Yeah, he's out there, man. It's sad. It's Marty Jannetty to me was always somebody that I felt like could have been a bigger star than he was, and I think a lot of it was his own doing. I mean, egos get in the way, and I don't know what his deal is now, man. Like he was talking about, remember, he was like, "Oh, I woke up and I had a one night stand with this girl, and then doing research, I think it was my daughter." Like all this fucking weird shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
just,
Like,
just
like,
the kind,
what?
it's the kind of stuff that stimulants make you like come up with. I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Curly Jaw's in the house, and he says just simply fuck the monsters, which, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more on that.
Wow.
Ken Carlson's good to have you in here, man. TJ Frizzy, been doing some shows with Daner lately.
Oh yeah. Nice. Yeah, I've been checking those out. Popping in now and then.
Manic Extra. I don't know who puts together these lists. We've been talking about that. We have no idea like where they're coming from. It's probably made up by hipsters. Could be. Although I don't know if hipsters know about some of these movies, like Bay of Blood. I don't know.
Mm.
Let's see. Magic Hands? That's a new one.
What's up? Welcome.
That Horror Critic's in here. Anthony's Horror Moore's in here.
What up?
Tony Moran's Liver's in here.
Oh.
See you. I'm sure you're not doing well. The Mayor's in here.
Mayor.
All right, that's about everybody though. So
all right, cool. And if you guys pop in, what is up? Hit that like button. We'll get into it. Number 49, which, man, I think this is a great movie. It inspired a lot of big time slashers that we know. And that's Bay of Blood, or you can also call it Twitch of the Death Nerve. That's what I think. I don't know. I have a box set on DVD, and I don't remember what title they used for it. But
I think I've got the Kino. Didn't Kino put that out?
They did on a Blu-ray. After I watched this, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I would upgrade Bay of Blood. I still have it on DVD. Maybe it's worth grabbing that Kino. So I threw it in my Amazon cart because the quality of the image that they were showing looked really good, and I feel like the DVD box that I have was it was a little bit subpar. So I might go back and jump on that.
Yeah, man. I mean, so as far as the movie goes, I've seen it, I would say twice. And I'm not going to lie, the main reason that I ever watched the movie to begin with is because everybody was making comparisons to Friday the 13th Part 2.
That's exactly why I watched it too. Yep, back in the day.
And I'll be honest, I was really pleasantly surprised with it because it's an incredibly gory movie, especially for that time that it was made in. Mm-hmm. And it's like an Argento-ish kind of gore too. Like everything's really bright and the blood and everything is bright and vivid and everything in the movie is like really, really colorful. And it's not, to me, it's just a slasher. Like it's like an earlier version of a slasher.
Yeah, I think that it's one that, again, for me, like I said, I've probably only seen it twice as well, and it's been a long time, like I said, since DVD. And I always thought it was a cool slasher movie that Bava did, and I'm kind of happy to see it on this list. I guess I'm okay with it right now with where it is, because as we get through this, I'm going to still say, we still have about another 40 to go, and I'm looking and I'm like, wow, where are they going to get these 40 from, So I'm kind of fine with Bay of Blood where it is, and I'm glad it got a little recognition.
Yeah, I mean, when you consider some of the other stuff that they put on here later, like the fact that it was on there is pretty amazing. And I'm like you, I'm wondering like where's this going to go? Because a lot of the ones that we suspected would be, really high up are in this week. So I don't know. So, if for those people that don't know, real quick, like in Bay of Blood, there are literal shot for shot scenes taken from Bay of Blood and put into Friday the 13th Part 2. I mean, like verbatim, not just like, hey, we got some inspiration from this movie. I mean, like
Yeah.
just almost identical, and especially the scene where the two people are like making out and they get killed with a spear. But there's other ones too. Like I think that the hatchet scene to the guy in the wheelchair or the machete is basically the exact same shot minus him going in the wheelchairs as in Bay of Blood 2. There's a scene that's almost identical to that. So somebody really liked that movie, and I guess it was Steve Miner. But anyway, this is one of the ones where I was like, I thought this would be much, much higher up on the list. And we've
I
talked
agree.
about this. 48 we've talked about a couple of times. We knew it was going to be on here, but this is an interesting spot for it. 48 is The Conjuring.
Yep. Now I agree. I think that this was good. I thought this was going to be higher because I just know it's so beloved now within the horror community, and like a lot of these people that are doing the show, I feel like they would have put this at a real high praise. So I'm actually kind of shocked that it's at 48. I was a little bit shocked by that. I really thought this was going to be top 20. For now, and then it just makes you think like, well, what else is up there? And I think Conjuring 2 even has some stuff in there. It could have made this list at some point, but they didn't touch upon 2, did they at all?
No,
Like
they didn't even mention it. No.
So that's what's interesting too, is that it's probably not going to make the list. I don't know. The Nun though. Do you think that that's the Nun stuff from part 2 is going to be more than this?
I mean, I would fucking kill somebody if they put the Nun thing up above all of this stuff.
Not the Nun movie, but the Nun.
The Nun, even the Nun scenes
Yeah.
from part 2, I would be pissed. And it also makes me wonder too, like, I mean, because it seems like in this particular section, they put a lot more modern films. And I'm wondering, like, is this like pretty much where that's going to die? That's going to like end off, and then from like here on out, it's going to be more like classic and like 70s and 80s films and things like that. I mean, they put a lot of the ones that I thought would be the hipster, as people say, like the hipster picks, later on. And people say whatever they want to about The Conjuring now, but when that movie came out, I mean, it was amazing. Like, we saw it in the theater. It was a great film. I like the second one even. I think I might like the second one as much as I like the first one, to be honest. And the same with Insidious. So,
right, I totally agree. I like Conjuring. I would never say anything bad about it. I think part 2 was good as well. I knew this was going to be on the list. I'm just surprised it's where it is. And I don't really hear many people say they don't like The Conjuring. I don't really hear that a lot, but the next one we're going to talk about at number 47 is the same thing. Like, I really thought this was going to be in the top 20, no doubt, especially for all the reasons I said about The Conjuring, about it getting high praise in the horror community. It also gets high praised amongst the horror community when it comes to other directors and the talking heads of like the horror specialists and experts and whatever they want to call them. And that's Get Out is at number 47, which I'm fine with it being there. I just thought it was going to be a lot lower on this list. But
yeah.
What do you think? I mean, I think Get Out's a great movie.
I do too, and I'm fine with that. Like, that actually seems fair to me. Because there's a lot of movies I would put ahead of Get Out, but I also think that, like, in terms of like Wokomania, Running Wild, like, it's one of the better ones in that genre for sure. So
right,
I'm fine with where it's at.
And the same thing, like, and I'm looking at the chat really quick here, and like people are saying like Malignant should be on the list, and I think Malignant should be on the list. I just have a tough time now thinking that it's going to be ahead of what we're seeing here. Like, I think it needs to be on the list. I'm shocked that if it is, it's going to be higher than The Conjuring and Get Out and stuff like that.
It ain't gonna be on this list. There's no way they put that above all this stuff. But
that's what's weird about it. Yeah, and people were saying about Annabelle. I hope Annabelle's not on this list because it doesn't deserve to be ahead of any of this.
No, but I could, the way things are going, I could see that being on the list too. Like, just odd, but it could be. But Get Out was really like one of the first, I guess you would call that like elevated woke kind of movies that I can remember, like really getting a lot of recognition. And it's got some effective scenes in it. Like, I mean, you can hate the movie as a whole, but they're like, I'll forever remember the scene that they talked about on the show, which was the hypnosis scene. And I mean, that's a really well executed scene. And there's another scene too, where he's talking to the guy outside, and then like, you know, they showed a little bit of it, but like the guy starts to freak out, and like,
Right.
and you kind of start to realize that something's not perfect, that's not right in the situation, and then you get all these other little hints throughout the movie too, which I think it's very much like another movie on this list that we'll get to later, to draw a comparison to like all the paranoia in the movie too.
I saw someone talk about Get Out feeling more like a thriller. Yeah, but you know what? Like we talked about this last week. Like when you got to think of horror, you've got to kind of think of it as a way bigger picture, because so many subgenres fall inside horror that like we're getting a lot of that here. Thrillers, sci-fi, like it's all kind of going inside. Even exploitation, like if you want to get down to nitty gritty. But I think as a whole, everything kind of counts, and we'll see that more today on this list as well.
Somebody mentioned, we were just talking about this. I don't think I could do this though. Like a counter 101 list, like it just, man, like it changes. Like I don't know how many horror movies I've seen, thousands probably. Like there's no way that I could sit down and make a definitive list of like 101 movies like that.
I don't think I could either. I would be like, I'd be changing my mind. I'd be flipping things around. Like, I mean, I think it would be too much. Yeah.
Yeah. Most people are saying the same thing though. They don't consider like Get Out to be a horror film. It is kind of like a Twilight Zone episode now that he mentions it. Yeah. And you know, white people can be scary. There's no doubt. Can be. Malignant is not going to make this list.
Yeah. I mean, I have a hard time thinking it will, because of where we're at on the list. But I mean, I guess you're right. Maybe it is too new to really have it sneak onto this list. But I don't know. Are we feuding right now with the new Chucky? Is that what's happening? People saying Chucky's on.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, people said Chucky's on tonight.
Oh God, who gives a shit? You shouldn't be watching that nonsense anyway.
I haven't. I hear it's good, but I haven't watched any of it, so I wouldn't know. And I'm a big Child's Play fan. I don't know. I'm tough. It's tough when it comes to TV shows. I kind of don't even get bothered.
Yeah, I can't watch TV anymore. I just don't do it. But we may have to move the show though to get away from Chucky. I don't know where the hell
we might have to. We might have to. Maybe if we can pull it down an hour. I don't know. But Phantasm Matt asks if Elves is going to be on the list. I wish Elves was on the list.
Me too. That movie is just flat out amazing. Will Salo be on the list? You know what?
Oh boy.
Maybe. I mean, that movie is horrifying, but not for like the reasons that I think they're going for on this list. Dracula 3D is not that bad. I can say that.
Now, as we go on to 46, this is the only one on the list I've never seen. I didn't understand like how this got kind of thrown in here, because it almost seems like we're doing episodes now.
Yeah,
is that what this was?
This is the one that I was like, what the fuck are they doing?
Right. It's Twin Peaks Part 8. So I assume this is one of the current ones, because I don't think this was one of the old shows.
No, back in, I don't remember if it was 2017, 2018, something like that. They let David Lynch, because like when the original show ended, it just kind of fucking ended. And he didn't really like have any kind of definitive ending for it or anything like that. It just kind of went off the air. And like for a long time, fans were like super pissed about that, and they wanted like a definitive kind of like ending. So they gave him a bunch of money to go back and make like a last season of the show. Yeah. And I've never seen it. I don't know why I've never seen it, but like supposedly it's amazing, because like, you know how normally you would come back and like give somebody that kind of money and they would make something just extremely like, just kind of like, you know,
half-assed or whatever.
Half-assed, yeah. But apparently he just was like, he took all that money and just made whatever he wanted to make, which was like a bunch of nonsensical, crazy shit. So and the episode they're talking about that they referenced was the one about like the atom bomb. And I've never seen it. I don't know. I love David Lynch's stuff. It's just for some reason I never got around to watching Twin Peaks. I just never have.
I agree. I love Twin Peaks, the original show. I actually like it a lot. I haven't seen this new one at all, so maybe I'll get it and just have it there ready to go. But you know what? It kind of reminds me of it, and I may be wrong, but do you remember when X-Files came back like a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
Yeah, I watched some of it. Yeah, until I couldn't.
It was a little different, right? But there was this one episode that I was like, I absolutely freaking loved. It was almost like a hokey one where they were like chasing something around the woods, and it was very almost slapsticky horror. Like, do you remember that one? I was like, man, if this whole show was like this would have been so key, like money.
I can't honestly. I can't really remember those.
I'll have to try to
newer ones as well.
find that episode, and if you haven't seen it, I suggest watching it. It was so freaking good. But so what's making me think here is, yeah, I would love to check it out. I love the original Twin Peaks. But if we're doing this now, like, then a part of me is like, well, I would love to see Midnight Mass on here if we're kind of pulling episodes on miniseries and stuff out.
If they're doing that shit, then that could mean like the Twilight Zone would be in here. That could mean like X-Files Home. I would put that in there before I would put this. Like, I think Home is one of the more disturbing pieces of TV ever made, really. Like, so, and it was the inspiration for a lot of those movies that came out later.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are big X-Files fans, and you and I as well. And it's been a long time since I'm gone back and revisited, and we've talked so much about maybe trying to do some watch-alongs. For one, I would do it from a more of a selfish standpoint of like rewatching these things. But what's cool about it is Wes has never seen any of them, and I think it would be a real cool thing for him to watch it now. Especially things like Home and stuff. So that's a lot of stuff we've been chatting with, especially showing him Home. So that's something I think we're going to probably end up doing, after October, because October is pretty slammed with stuff that we have to try to do.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I agree. I would love to see Midnight Mass on this list now that I know we're doing this.
Me too, because like a lot of people are echoing this same thing. I think it's one of the best, whatever you want, mini-series shows, like, that's been on in years and years and years. Like, it's the most well-acted by far of anything that I've seen. Like, it puts a lot of that shit that Netflix puts out to shame that's the more, like, known. Like Fear Street. I liked Fear Street, but Fear Street couldn't, like, hold a candle to...
Oh, Stuntman Mark says the episode I'm talking about is Mulder and Scully meet the Weremonster.
Okay.
So I would definitely check that out. It's a freaking great episode. Very fun, different. And I was like, oh man, this is what they should have did on every episode in this new series.
I'm going to tell you, man, that I actually even liked like the X-Files seasons 8 and 9 when they brought in like Robert Patrick and all that stuff and Annabeth Gish. I mean, I thought those were good. But I watched a lot of those episodes of the revival, I guess you would call it. And just none of them stuck in my head for some reason.
This one I think will, if you can find it. I don't know if it's like on YouTube or streaming or whatever. But number 45, from a personal standpoint, I'm not a fan of it. I know it gets a lot of love, and I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but it goes back to what I've said 100 times, is that I have it on DVD. I remember popping in for the first time, all excited to watch this, and then when all of a sudden I realized I had to read the whole thing, I'm like, meh. I'm going to go do something else now. And that's Pan's Labyrinth, right? Is that what this was? Is that
Guillermo del Toro.
Sorry, yeah, this is where my Shudder kept shutting off today. So that shut off during this, and I want to make sure I had it at the right spot. So, yeah, Pan's Labyrinth is at number 45. I guess that's fine because I know it's held up pretty high. But
I think a lot of the imagery in it is iconic. A lot of the monsters and the makeup. But I don't think to me, like as a whole movie, it's not good. Like, I get that like a lot of the imagery and stuff is good. There's a lot of imagery and stuff in Argento's Inferno that's good, but as a whole movie, it doesn't hold together. And I feel the same way about this.
So do you think like if it was a personal list, this wouldn't have been at 45. It would have been way higher up towards the hundreds.
Yeah, I wouldn't have.
For me,
I would have put it like probably in the, if I was going to include it even, I'd put it in maybe the 70s or the 80s. I don't think I would have it anywhere near some of this other stuff. You talk about something that's not a horror film. It's like a fantasy film.
Right.
Like it has like a little bit of horror element to it, but it's not anywhere near being a horror film. So
Uh,
I don't like his stuff either. There's something about it that's just too. It's too. Usually the movies are way too long. It's too gimmicky. There's just too much like fantasy and things to a lot of those movies for me to get into it.
And it goes back to what we said before, and we'll get into it in this as well. It almost seems like every 10 that we go through, it's like they have some criteria. A couple old movies, a couple new movies, a couple
Yeah.
foreign movies. Like it almost seems like we're getting the same concept every 10 every episode, basically, that we're talking about. But yeah, that was number 45, Pan's Labyrinth. Now 44 is one of the ones. The same with Conjuring Get Out, where we thought this was going to be way higher up on the list going towards the top 20. And I still think it should have been. But number 44 is Rosemary's Baby.
Dude, there
I
ain't no
agree.
fucking way. There is no way. Like, I was not born in that era that Rosemary's Baby came out, but even I can realize like how amazing and iconic that movie is. And they've got, and I really couldn't even believe the fucking next movie they put ahead of it. I was like, y'all are, how do you do that? And some of the shit they've got ahead, just in this list of Rosemary's Baby, which is like one of the most iconic, it's got some of the most iconic quotes, some of the most iconic scenes, like some of like the stuff that happens in that
I agree.
movie it gets copied still to this day, 50 years, 60 years later.
Yeah, I mean, I put it in a similar tier as like Exorcist when I'm thinking of horror movies that, I feel are classics. I mean, I don't know if they're doing it because of the Polanski thing. I mean, I don't know why, they did it this way, but I think this deserves to be way higher on the list. I was very shocked when this came in now, because it's just so iconic and it's creepy, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if it was me, that movie would have been in the top 20 easily.
Same.
And
It seems
those
like a lot of people are saying that too in this chat. It seems like everybody's pretty much on the same idea that this is not a 44 title here.
No, I'm not sure. Like, yeah, Alpha Romero's bringing up like something too. I'm not sure like how they're doing this, but like, there's no way, man.
No, they did show the scene in there, and as I'm watching, I'm like kind of laughing because it's a great scene where they do say, "Oh, he's got his father's eyes," and it shows like the husband like in the corner, like
yeah,
kinda, like looking down and stuff, like to know that it's like, oh, he's not talking about me,
There's I watched I got onto a Polanski kick like it was about a year ago, and I watched like a bunch of his films together, and I watched The Tenant, which is an amazing like underrated film, and then I watched Rosemary's Baby a couple of times, and that whole end sequence, man, where she finds out like what's going on, and like she's in there with the baby and everything. And it goes from her being just like absolutely like just disgusted and mortified to like, she's like, well, I mean, it's my kid. And then starts to like warm up to the idea. That's just, that whole thing is amazing. There's
and even
no way.
even when he's impregnating her, isn't she looking at the priest like, "Do you forgive me, Father?" It's just a very weird scene. And as I was watching, they show the necklace that smelled. What was that called? Something root. What was it called again?
Oh yeah, fucking. They kept giving it to her like.
Like like what's that smell? Like, oh, that's something root, or hey, you taking your something root, and I couldn't for the life of me think of what that was called.
Somebody on here will know it.
Yeah, somebody in the chat.
I can't remember it either.
What's the root that she's wearing, or that they've given her, or whatever?
Yeah, they just keep like forcing her to like drink this shit, and tea and all this stuff.
Yeah. Did you take your vitamins?
Of course. It's amazing. Yeah.
No, but Tannis root.
Yeah,
there it is. Hell yeah, Tannis root. I want to get a Tannis root necklace.
That would be an awesome prop to have, really.
You come on, you're like, is this rad? It's like the Tannis root necklace.
I mean, I don't know, like, how much more, like, stuff you could say about Rosemary's Baby. Like, it's kind of iconic. I don't understand its placement in this list. But then again, like, there's probably been 10 movies that I felt like I don't understand. There's going to be a couple coming up here in a minute where I was just kind of like, no, they should not be this high on this fucking list.
Well, that's Suspirian Night made a good point. That's why, and part of me was kind of like, is that why we're here? Like, because I don't know, like, you know how things are now. It's all political in a sense. Like, you know, when they were trying to talk about Last House on the Left, it was like nobody wanted to even like mention it. Like, it was, you know,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's on this list. I saw it once. Ugh. Like, you know, like nobody wanted to like even admit that they even like saw it. You know.
You mentioned what you know. What one thing that they had to say about Rosemary's Baby 2, and I was like, why would you even do it? There's like a part in it where they're like, and a lot of people were repulsed by the scene where the guy says, you know, that he had sex with her while she was asleep. I'm like, what the fuck does that even like? So they have to say some shit like that, like during these episodes, just to be like, hey, we're good people. We just like these movies.
We turned away when that scene was going on. Wonder if they'd like Entity.
It's I pray that movie's on the list at some point.
Dude, if it was my list, that would be way up there because that's a freaking that movie. I think gets freakier with age. Like I remember watching it when I like as a younger guy, and I was like, oh yeah, cool. And now I watch it now, and I'm like, I don't even know if I can watch this. It's like brutal. You know, it's disturbing.
Like that movie is definitely not made for this culture. Like there's no way.
The demon's like wicked rough and shit too.
Yes. We watched that not too long ago, and I was amazed at how like graphic it was. Like I didn't remember a lot of the stuff, but it's basically like an hour and a half of just full on ghost rape. Like there's no getting around it.
It's heavy, man. It's very heavy. It's heavier than I think people even realize because nobody really talks about it. They're just kind of like, oh, it's that other movie that's kind of like Rosemary's Baby or whatever. But it's a heavy movie, man. And somebody in here said Scream Factory is going to come out with a 4K of Rosemary's Baby with Tannis root pins.
They'll do it.
That's so funny.
So 43 is, I wanted this movie to be on the list. I think I even said that on the last show, but I did not think that it would be higher than Rosemary's Baby. I will say that. Like number 43 is Inside, the French flick that came out right around the same time Martyrs came out, which I'm hoping will also be on this list. Those are the two big ones where I was like, if there's going to be any of those like foreign films from the 2000s, like I want it to be those two. But Inside, I completely agree with. It should be on this list. Should it be that high? I don't know. I don't know if I would have put it that high.
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal movie. I remember when I got that. It was like that Extreme DVD or whatever that
Dimension Extreme,
yeah. And it's pretty disturbing, man, for sure. And I agree, it should be on this list. If it was my personal list, it wouldn't be this high, or at least let's put it this way: Rosemary's Baby would be higher. Maybe this is a good spot for Inside. It's a disturbing movie. It's not something I jump to and watch. I've watched it once in my life, so never upgraded it. Still have my Dimension Extreme. It's not a favorite of mine. It's not my style of horror, but I understand why it's where it is because I do know that a lot of people really like this flick.
I actually really liked it when it came out. Now I haven't seen that movie since it probably came out, I would say, and probably watched it like a couple of times right when it first came out. But honestly, the scene that they put in there that they talked about was not the scene that I would have picked. They picked the scene with the mother getting stabbed in the neck by the girl. The scene that always stood out for me was, I think there's a scene where a cop comes in and like he's trying to like rescue her or whatever, and the woman comes up behind him and like shoots him in the face, and like you see it from the front and it's a real quick cut and his face just kind of like blows off into the screen and then he's just like laying there and that's it. And I always thought that was the more shocking of anything in the movie, and then of course the shit with the scissors. But yeah,
it's funny that you bring up Martyrs because did those come out around the same time? Because I lumped those together so much, and I'm getting confused on which one is which. Like, which one is the one where it starts out like they're in the woods and there's like the guy's got the girl, then they bring them somewhere where they like tie them in a chair like in this like basement or whatever. Is that Martyrs or no?
Yes, that is Martyrs. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking
the end of Martyrs basically all takes place in one like basement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, have you ever seen the American remake of that? Or is it? I've never seen it, but is it?
I try to avoid any of those like American remakes of any of that shit if I can. But so yeah, a lot of people are saying.
I think Martyrs will be on this list. I think, and you're right. Like,
Yeah.
Movies that I think should be above a lot of these movies is Black Christmas, is When a Stranger Calls. Like, I think those probably, in my opinion, would have been higher up. I see people talking about that on here.
A lot of people are saying they think Martyrs is better, and also Frontiers, which that's another one that came out same time period, same kind of genre, like French films that were. It seemed like after like High Tension or around the same time as High Tension, like all these films started to like come out.
I love High Tension. I would love to see that on this list. I don't know if it makes the list, but I think it has a lot of qualities that it could have made that it could make this list.
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why by the end of this episode. I don't think the Tenebrae will be on here.
Which is crazy to think about that, right? Like that and you called that at the beginning, like we're not going to see a lot of Argento on here.
No, I didn't think so. And so far we haven't seen one sequel, have we? Did we talk about that? Like there hasn't been a sequel of anything.
Yeah, we haven't got any sequels yet. It almost seems like they're just kind of using the original and the sequels are kind of lumped with that. But again, maybe Conjuring 2 is going to change that. I don't know. I don't know what the rules are anymore because, like I said, we got like a mini series episode this time. So I don't know what the rules are anymore. Let me see. What we're going now is number 42, which again, I think it deserves to be on this list. I actually thought it would have been higher just because I know how much people really like this film. And when we talked earlier about is it considered horror or not, like I don't think this is to an extent, but I think it falls inside the broad spectrum of the genre, and that's 7.
I would have never thought of this movie. I just wouldn't have. I just don't consider it to be a horror film. But there's another one on here too that also a lot of people don't consider to be a horror film.
Mm-hmm.
So I, kind of all the bets are off at this point. Like they've picked TV series, they've picked fantasy films, they've picked, what you'd call like psychological thrillers. I don't know, but I will say this: 7 is a hell of a movie, just in general. Like, and it's kind of become a meme nowadays with the ending and everything. But at the time, that was a punch in the nuts, man. Like,
yeah,
it was end of that movie.
And a part of me almost feels like, do you think that Saw was inspired a little bit by, a movie like 7? Like, I feel like 7 was pretty, it is pretty loved, but do you know, was it a big hit in the box office or no?
7, I think it was. Like, I don't remember it being a flop or anything. I think I can look it up, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that it caught on around that time.
No, I see Tabata Vision here. I don't know if you've been following this dude, but I don't know what you're talking about, but the Nazi werewolf nightmare from American Werewolf was actually on this list, that specific scene, but it was like in the 90s or something like that.
Which I don't think we'll see that movie again either, the way things are going. Like, I thought the transformation scene or something like that might be higher up, but I don't think we're going to ever see American Werewolf in London again.
Scott's Wrestling Collection said 7 did pretty well at the box office. 7 was huge when it came out, made Spacey a star.
That's one thing they didn't see him at all. He wasn't mentioned at all.
Like, Brad Pitt was so good in this.
Oh, yeah.
We don't like to talk about the other guy. We didn't like him in it.
Yeah, it made over $100 million. So, yeah, when it came out.
I remember when it came out, but I never saw it in theaters. But I remember it being something that people really talked about.
And I think that must have came out. It may have come out a little bit later, but I remember like people talking about The Usual Suspects and 7 right around the same time, like that time period. And maybe it was because Kevin Spacey was in both of them that I remember it that way, but I don't know. But I always remember those two movies being together for some reason.
I always think of like 7. Remember that movie Pi? I think it was called. Is that what it was called?
Oh yeah.
And what was the other one there? Though that arrow, just 12 monkeys. Like I always kind of get all those lumped into the same thing. I don't know if they were all around the same time frame or not, but I think it was like mid to late 90s or something like that. But the next one, man, I don't think it deserves to be where it is. I like the movie, but I, for some reason, thought this movie flopped. Like I didn't even know this thing had a lot of legs to it with other people. So
I didn't either.
I was really shocked. So above Rosemary's Baby, above 7 is number 41, which is Zodiac. And I thought it was a cool movie. I saw it in theaters, but I just have a DVD. I'm not even sure if it has other editions. I didn't know this was a movie that people readily talked about. So to see it in this spot was kind of shocking, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, I watched it when it came out because I love anything like related to serial killers. Which, by the way, a side note to all that, like if you haven't watched the Dahmer series that's on Netflix right now, that's like one of the best goddamn things that's been out in forever. And Evan Peters in that show, like that show is too real.
Right.
Like you get the feeling watching it, like that you're like watching that kind of stuff actually happen. But anyway, Zodiac I watched right when it came out. I thought it was really long and kind of boring, if I'm being honest. Like the scene that they reference is like one of the only scenes from the movie that I remember. I just remember it being a really long, like police drama, more so than anything else about the Zodiac or anything like that. And it doesn't come to any kind of conclusion, which I guess is the point, because like that case didn't come to any kind of conclusion, but it's just not very entertaining.
You know, I think it's a cool movie. I think it's an interesting story, but I think you're right. Like to me, it felt slow. Like nothing happened really. Like there might have been like a one or two scenes in the movie that made you jump, or maybe took you off your seat a little bit, but that's about it. And I'm shocked that this is thrown in at 41 when you think about all the other movies that we've had on this list. And a movie like Zodiac, which gets, in my opinion, is not much love at all, thrown into the 41 spot. Do I think it should be on the list? I don't even know. Like I think it's a good movie, but I don't know if it's even 100 movies deep. I don't know. It was a definitely a polarizing pick for 41, in my opinion.
Yeah, I again, a lot of people on here are saying the same thing. Like it's just too long. It's there's a lot of other films that I think could have deserved to have been on here before that. Like I said, that scene is memorable, but frig, man, I mean, is it worth going 3 hours through a movie to to get to that one scene that I can actually remember from the movie? The rest of it I just remembered. In Jake Gyllenhaal in it. That's another thing too. Anything with Jake Gyllenhaal in it ain't worth a shit.
No, I wouldn't go that far, man. Gyllenhaal.
I'm telling you.
Did you see? You got to go watch Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler.
I've seen Nightcrawler, and I mean,
you didn't like it?
It's fine. No, I'm not. Maggie Gyllenhaal. As a matter of fact, worse than Jake Gyllenhaal is Maggie Gyllenhaal. If you ever are watching a movie and Maggie Gyllenhaal's in it, and she has anything to do with like being in the top 3 people, like because she's in Dark Knight too. So
that's the only thing I knew her from. I don't know what else she's in.
If she's anywhere near being the main cast, just turn the movie off because you're not gonna like it. He was in Prince of Persia. I forgot about that fucking movie. That it even existed. Yeah.
Donnie Darko, baby.
Number 40, I 100% agree with. I actually kind of agree with its placement on the list. Like, I mean, it's right at where maybe I would have put it.
I agree. I agree it belongs where it is. I don't agree that it's ahead of certain movies, because I think this was a movie that hit people by surprise. It had a real good reputation. For me, I think I like it less and less every time I see it.
What?
That's just me. I do. I loved it when it came out. I watched it, and I now, like, when I watch it, I'm kind of like, this movie kind of looks like shit. Like, I don't know, like, what they did to the saturation, but it takes me out of it. Like, it just looks very dull. Like,
maybe I'm wrong, but I think that movie might have been the inspiration for Lionsgate's rendering process for every movie that came out in the 2000s, including like Saw, because like that's kind of what it looks like. But 28 Days Later is number 40, and 28 Days Later has one of the way ahead of its time, one of the best scenes in it. And it's not this scene that they mentioned in the show, but one of the best scenes is him when he wakes up from his coma. Cillian Murphy wakes up from his coma, just walking around, I think it's London or somewhere around there, and like there's nothing, and they actually cleared the streets and everything like that, and there's just nothing going on, and he's just walking around like this post-apocalyptic kind of emptiness, trying to figure out what in the hell has happened. And for miles and miles around, you see that there's nothing. And that just to me is like one of the most effective. And they copied the shit out of that in Walking Dead, by the way, because it happens at the beginning of that show too.
I get them confused sometimes because the first episode is so similar. Yeah.
So I mean, I'll give it that. I still think it's an effective movie.
I do. I think it's fine where it is on the list. Like I said, I was a big fan of it when it came out. I was always excited, like for the sequel, and you know, are we going to get even a? How many are there? Are there 3 or 2? Is it just weeks, or do they go further than that?
They did 28 weeks. I don't think they did 28 months. Wasn't that next? Like,
yeah, that was always like everybody's like the rumor mill. Like 28 months is coming out. So yeah, I'm fine with it here. I mean, maybe it's something I need to rewatch because it has been quite a while since I've seen it. But I remember first seeing it, loving it in the theater, buying the DVD, liking it a lot. Watched it one more time, and I was kind of like, it kind of looks shitty. But I don't know if I'm getting it confused with the sequel. Now, before we move on to the next one into the 30s, guys, I don't
28 centuries later.
It's coming soon. If you're just jumping in, hit the like in there. Will you? Give a like over. You got Dead Pit Radio over here. You got Born to Be Rad over here. Whatever channel you're on, throw a like on there. Make sure you're subbed to both channels. And we're going to get into these last couple on the list, which I think me and him are going to kind of argue a little bit on at least I think on this next pick. I think you're going to really I think you're really going to hate on this pick, and I'm going to think that I'm fine with it being here.
I'm going to tell you right now that I'm going to take a big steaming shit on this next pick. And
I knew it.
And its placement on the ain't no fucking way.
Now, I will agree in the sense that maybe it's a little bit low on the list. Like, see, I don't know to say high or low. Like, it's a little bit too close to number 1 for me. Like, I would have put this in like maybe the 60s or 70s or something like that. Maybe 60s. But I think I loved this movie. And that is 30 Days of Night. I thought this movie was killer when I saw it in theaters, and I've seen it a couple times since then, and I still think it was pretty effective. The sequel sucks, but I like this movie a lot. I thought it was pretty rad.
I mean, to me, it's an okay movie. It's kind of a product of its time period, though, a little bit too, but just the way that it looks, like, to me, like, just like you were talking about, like, 28 Days Later, like, I never liked the look of, it's way too dark and way too, like, oversaturated, too, and just kind of, like, it's a really bleak movie, too, which I guess is the point, but, like, I never really, like, got into those movies that were like that. There's a lot of CG in it. I don't know. And, yeah, the one thing that I'll tell you right now, and this is no shit. Just hear me when I say this. What placement was this? Was it 40?
No, it's 39.
It's 39. No movie with Josh Hartnett should be fucking anywhere near the 30s. Like,
no, I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be in here. Like I said, I think maybe in the 60s is fine. And again, I don't even look at this necessarily as like scary. I think it's a pretty cool movie. There might have been a couple tense parts here and there, but I mean, again, does this deserve to be above Black Christmas? No. Does this? I
like how Jack Brothers just like wrote this out like he's confused, but wait, 30 Days of Night has Josh Hartnett. Yes,
he's like,
yes, it does.
Laurie Strode's son. He's in that.
I mean, I didn't hate the movie. I'm not saying that at all. Like, I actually kind of liked it especially when it first came out. I just don't. I don't think I like it near as much as like a lot of people.
I mean, this doesn't belong above Rosemary's Baby. This doesn't belong above Conjuring. Like,
okay, let's go through some because I kept the list from last time too. So you're telling me that this is above Frankenstein?
What do you mean? 30 Days a Night, that's a freaking modern classic.
This is above Nightmare on Elm Street, Frankenstein, Black Christmas, When a Stranger Calls Phantasm. Yeah, 30 Days a Night is above all
listen, like I agree. I don't think it needs to be where it is. I think it's a cool movie, but hell no, I don't think it deserves to be above any of that. A lot of these movies don't deserve to be above that. I don't even think 28 Days Later deserves to be above any of those movies. But
please don't. I would fucking mark out if H2O was anywhere on this list.
Like, it was so scary. Post.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh my god.
dude, yeah. Just that alone, you're kind of like, what people are like sliding this one in here and being like, oh, we just Nightmare on Elm Street's higher than this. Like, dude, nobody talks about 30 Days a Night. Freaking even still, like Zodiac's above all those too. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, some people are actually like really marking out for 30 Days a Night, and like more power.
I saw
to
a lot
you.
of people shitting on it actually.
Some people are shitting on it. Yeah. Oh god. Where is Black Christmas? Well, Ice Cody. Black Christmas is at number 57. So it's almost, 20 back from fucking 30 Days of Night.
This is the real Christmas movie right here.
Yeah. Now, also, I mean, I'm going to tell you this. Like, the next one, I would have put it in the top 20. I've probably watched this movie as much as, like, Jaws and Dawn of the Dead and, a lot of the ones that I just watch over and over and over again. And I probably watch it, like, every single time that it comes out on TV or anything like that. Number 38 is Silence of the Lambs.
Oh yeah, I mean that and 30 Days a Night, right neck and neck. I get it,
Yeah, totally. I mean, Silence of the Lambs just barely edged out 30 Days a Night for that spot.
I think it was close too. They said they didn't know which one to kind of push ahead.
People ought to be fucking ashamed of themselves for putting that on that high on that list.
Did it win an award or something?
Yeah, it won like I don't know how many Oscars. A lot. Though. There's a lot of Academy Awards.
30 Days a Night wasn't nominated for anything?
No, I don't think. It might have been
right.
nominated for like a Fairy Chainsaw Award or something, but that's about it.
Chainsaw Award.
You remember that?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh my god. What are you gonna say about Silence of the Lambs, man? I've watched that like 100 times. It's one of the best acted movies. It's like
I love it, man. I like it a lot. I mean, I even love Manhunter as well. Did we see that yet or no?
Wasn't Manhunter on this list? Like, fuck.
It may have been. I don't know, but I like both of them a lot. And I haven't seen Silence of the Lambs in probably 3 years, I would say. But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, a movie that with just that much cred, like it deserved to be in top 20. Oh, fucking CHH is the biggest troll. Don't listen to anything he says.
Yeah. It's worth. This is the best line in the film, though. I swear to God, it is. I'm glad that they mentioned it on the show. That line has always haunted me, and I was never sure why. Like, because it just comes out of nowhere. It's like, but I think they're right though. There's something about the delivery of it where you just like realize this guy is just way out there. Like he just doesn't think like normal people because like, she comes up and is asking him if he knows her. And he's, oh wait, was she a great big old fat person? It's like, but then there's the other line too that Lecter says where he's like, was she big around the hips or roomy? Like,
it's just, yeah, and again, it just shows like they would never say that stuff in a movie now.
No,
never.
But here's the thing I noticed too about Silence of the Lambs. Like all the Lecter stuff got popular like right after that movie came out, and like people were just like quoting all that shit. But the Buffalo Bill stuff, like that really took off later. Like people really started to notice like his performance in the movie and like how iconic it was like much later on, which I think he gives as good of a performance as Anthony Hopkins does in that movie. I think that that's actually what makes it work more so than like the Lecter stuff, really.
Yeah, and like you said, Lecter was almost like he got popular after, like he had his own movie Hannibal and all that stuff, and now it almost feels like Buffalo Bill kind of is secondary in comparison. Where, but like you said, he does get a lot of love now.
Silence of the Lambs would have been higher if they cast Josh Hartnett.
You know what they should have did? They should have just been wicked lazy and threw 30 Days a Night at like number 30, just like
they could have done that. Yeah.
Like, just throw it over here. And then 28 days later, like at 28, like, let's just throw this in.
I don't know if this is what they're doing or not, really though, because like so far there's not been a lot of really like hipstery kind of movies make high on the list. Maybe a couple, but not that many for sure.
I mean, again, we talked about it earlier. Conjuring and Get Out would have been way higher on this list if they were doing a lot of that, I think. But
yeah, this is yeah. I got Shudder. That was oh freak, who was that actor that was too? He's been in a lot of killer shit. That played like Buffalo Bob and Joe Dirt. He was in a Tales from the Dark Side episode as a vampire, and he was in something else. First Power. He was one of the bad guy in the First Power.
Oh yeah. First Power.
Anyway, so yeah, 37 probably would have also been in my top 20.
It's the last one of the night, guys. 37 is tell 'em, baby.
37 is, in my opinion, probably in the top 3 most iconic like foreign horror films to ever be made, especially modern horror films, and that's Dario Argento's Suspiria. I would have put it in the top 20. I think that movie has gotten ripped off more, like the way that it's filmed, more than probably any other modern horror film. So, I don't know. The fact that it's that low on the list, what the fuck are they going to put, man? Like,
I know. I agree. I would have put this in my top 20 as well. I mean, man, this movie is sometimes cited as the scariest horror movie of all time. I mean, it's just like you said, it's unique. It's been ripped off a bunch of times. I mean, I don't see any more Argento movies getting on this list ahead of Suspiria, and that's what I know you were trying to say earlier. How can they, right? Like, how can you put Tenebrae on this list above Suspiria? I just don't see it happening.
The only movie they could put above this,
Opera?
and this is like, no, the Deep Red, because like to me, like people argue those two movies as being like the best Argento films all the time. Like that's the common like thing. So maybe they put the scene with the puppet from Deep Red on there, like higher up. That's the only other movie I could see that they would do, but they're not gonna put shit like Tenebrae or Opera or anything like that now. Like that's all fucked. Like it wouldn't surprise me if this is the one Argento film that makes the list, and that's it.
Now, with exactly. I mean, I look at this list now and I say, there's a lot of things in here that I thought were going to be higher. So then I think to myself, what's left that they're going to talk about? And we did this last week, and a lot of the ones that we talked about are on this list this week, like Get Out, Conjuring, Rosemary's Baby, Silence of the Lambs, Suspiria. Like these were all in our like top 20.
Oh yeah, yep. I mean, people are mentioning a couple of them that I think will actually be on there. Like I hadn't even thought of, like Pet Sematary. That's not been mentioned yet, and I'm betting it'll be on there.
It will probably be on there.
A lot of that shit should not be higher than some of these other movies that were mentioned. I mean, you're going to have stuff like, you're going to have the classics. You're going to have Psycho, Shining, The Exorcist. That shit's not been on there yet. So all that stuff's going to be on there. But then I think they're going to throw some shit at us like that, like Pet Sematary or something, where it's just like, you wouldn't really think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Insidious is definitely going to be on there, no doubt. That's going to be one of those modern ones that hit. I think Hereditary, Midsummer, I think those are going to be two that we're going to see still. Yeah, definitely Pet Sematary. Stephen King's It, do you think like it's like they put the new one on there? Like, do you think that's going up there?
Yeah, I do think they put the new one on there, and I think that'll cause people's heads to fucking explode. And I kind of agree because like I've watched both those movies, like back, kind of almost like back to back, and I still think that the original one, I still think that Tim Curry is better. Like
I do too. I do think the new It was really good. I prefer the original personally as well. But yeah, Poltergeist hasn't been talked about yet. I mean, neither is Reanimator, but do you think that makes this list anymore?
No, I don't think Reanimator will be on the list.
Sinister will be on it. You're right.
I actually think that Sinister might be one of the scariest films to come out in like the 2000s. Like, that movie really genuinely made me uncomfortable to watch it. So I would kind of agree with that if it does make it on there anywhere. And of course, Ernest Scared Stupid. That's going to be on there.
The Beyond is probably going to be on here, don't you think?
I think that's the one Fulci film. I think they did Zombie. I don't think they're going to do another Fulci film. I really don't.
So you don't think you're going to see The Beyond on this list?
No. I think they're done. I think they're done with Fulci and Argento now.
Oh,
We'll see. But
Scream will be on it, yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Scream's
Scream will be on there. All these that any Phantom mentioned are going to be on there. He's right. The Shining is just nothing did. Poltergeist, Psycho. I would put Scream on there. So I mean, that's at least 7 or 8 that we know of that have to be on this list.
Yeah, I'm curious about some of like the obscure ones that are going to pop up, like you even said, like Pet Sematary. Like, sure, I think it should be on the list. Top 20, I don't know. I don't know about Omen will be on there, yeah.
So I don't know. They've surprised me though with a lot of this stuff. My fear is that what they're going to do is they're going to throw in a lot of shit, like a lot of these Asian movies that we don't really know about, and maybe a couple of like older, Spanish movies or something like that where you're just like not familiar with them, and claim that those are classics or whatever. So, but some of the Die Hard stuff will be on there for sure.
They did The Witch, right, already?
Yeah, they did The Witch.
Okay.
Did they do The Witch?
I think they did. I think they did.
Yeah, they did The Witch. So,
oh man, I would love to see Amityville Horror on here. I hope it gets on here. At this point, I don't.
That's one. Yeah, that could be on there.
I still don't think that gets enough love.
This is a good point. Has there been?
No, we're probably going to see Corpses and Rejects, though. I bet. I think we will.
There ain't no way, man. People would fucking like riot if they put both those movies on there. If you had to pick between those two,
I would say Corpses would probably be the one I'd pick.
Yeah.
I think Corpses is more scary than Rejects. So I do think, and again, we're going to get Alien on there as well. Christian says Exorcist 3. It should be, but they haven't done any sequels yet. So part of me feels like we're not going to see it, even though we should.
It should be on there, but no, I don't think so. The Devil's Rejects will be top 10. I'd write them a letter if it was. I mean, that's a good movie and everything, but yeah.
Yeah, man, I don't know if we've covered everything that we think is going to be on this list. I'm curious to see if there's any of those ones that just have passed us by. Like, is there anything that's going to be on the list that we haven't seen? I mean,
I would bet so. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would have never picked 7 or anything like that, or the Zodiac or anything. So I mean, there's probably going to be some surprises on there, and like the Munsters, that's definitely on there.
Top 5.
Fucking.
All right, well, let me ask you this then. Are they going to even touch this? Jeepers Creepers. Does the original one make this list? Because, and again, I'm not the biggest Jeepers Creepers fan at all. I think the first one's good. The rest I could do without. But I know people that were at a certain age when that first one came out. And the reason I remember this is because I was dating a girl who was a few years younger than me, and like she absolutely thought Jeepers Creepers was like the scariest thing she's ever seen. But like we were just that couple of years different age where I think it really hit them a little bit different. So do they not even touch upon that movie just based on the backstory on it and the director and all that stuff? Your buddy there, do they talk about that? You should write him and ask him if he thinks it'll be on the list.
My buddy.
You're next.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you why I don't think it'll be on the list is exactly what you just said. Because if it was on the list, then all those assholes will have to get out there on that show and be like, now listen, we're good people. We promise. Like, we condone this guy, but this movie is really good, so we were going to talk about it.
They've had to do that a couple times, yeah. So, yeah.
I just love that idea, by the way. These people have to be like, listen, we're actually really nice. We're good people. Like,
you know what though? To me, like a part of me almost feels like when people are come out and they have to say that so many times, it's like part of me like that makes them more untrustworthy. Like I feel like
it does. It just
what I mean? Like
it looks ridiculous.
Like a part of me is like, wait a minute, what kind of skeletons you got in that closet that you have everything you say like, well, Last House on the Left made the list because it was a very important movie, but I don't like that. I can't even watch that movie. I close my eyes when I watch that.
Yeah, that's a bunch of horse shit. This should get some people stirred up though, because old CK says that Jeepers Creepers is the most overrated franchise of all time.
Hey, I'm not. I think the first one's okay. I don't think it's this granddaddy of what a lot of people think it is. I don't care for the second one. Number 3, I haven't seen. Number 4, I haven't seen. So I just think that when people get really hyped up about it coming back and sequels and stuff, to me, I'm kind of like, just why? Creeper, like, how hard do we have to try to get this to catch on? Like, the Terrifier clown's going to be more over than Creeper is at this point, like, and you know what else? Speaking of that, Hellraiser, you think that's going to be on the list? The original? It's got to be.
It's got to be somewhere on there. Yeah,
got to be.
I mean, there's so many I think of though that like I have scenes that so they never mentioned the Hitcher on this list, have they?
No, but
like the scene where the truck scene, like the fact
it will. I think it will be on this list. Audition might be on this
Audition.
list.
There's a lot of them that are left of
The
scenes
Ring
that I can imagine. Has The Ring not been on it yet?
No. Ju-on or Grudge was.
I thought Ringu was on it. Was Ringu not on it?
No, it was Ju-on last week.
Horse shit.
Somebody said House That Jack Built. I hear a lot about that. I've never seen it, so
I would not watch it. Like that movie.
It's not up my alley.
If you got kids, you probably don't want to watch that movie.
I think Mel just bought it on the sale.
By mistake. I hope she doesn't watch it. God. The Haunted World of Bill Super
I like Super Beast though.
Yeah. People listen, okay, I'll say this. A lot of people in our chats and stuff talk shit about this series, like the Terrifier. I actually didn't mind that movie that much. Like
I hated it.
Oh. I know, but I didn't mind it. Like I thought it was.
I'm going to tell you right now, though. I'm going to tell you I didn't like the Terrifier, but I have a feeling that this part 2 is going to put him over big time because I've already heard a lot of rumblings that it's like it makes the first one look tame and it actually has a story. So I don't really care to see it unless I'm keep hearing rave reviews. Maybe I'll check it, but it's not my style, so I really don't have any inkling to watch it. But I think it is going to put it over pretty hard amongst a lot of people.
Oh, shit. This could happen.
Oh, no, it's not.
That could happen.
It's not going to happen.
That could be on this list, though. I don't think it'll be in the top 10.
I think Frozen might be. I think Frozen might be Adam Green.
I think Frozen, the Disney Frozen, is going to have a chance of being on this fucking list.
I think Frozen will hit this list. I don't know. I feel like that was his best movie, I think.
It was, but that's not what they're going for. I think Hatchet could be in the top 30, whatever's left.
Jacob's Ladder was already on this list before.
Yeah, Jacob's Ladder was, I can actually tell you. I know that you love that film too, Rambo. It was number 56.
It's true. We haven't seen The Thing yet. That'll be on here.
The Thing. If The Thing's not on this list, people should ride.
Well, we haven't seen The Fog yet. Do you think The Fog makes the list?
Halloween. I think.
Oh yeah, Halloween's definitely going to be on it. We haven't seen that yet either.
I don't. Okay, so if The Thing and Halloween, I don't think they'll put Fog on there. If 2 Carpenter movies make the list, I think They Live should be on there. But like, I don't think it will now.
No, they don't condone that kind of stuff. This woke stuff.
Where do you think Audition will rank?
I say top. There's so much out there now. I think it's probably going to be. I think we might see that next week. I think.
I do too. I think if it's going to be in there, and it probably will be in there. It'll be next week. Oh God, the Blob remake. I don't think so.
I love it, but I don't think it's going to be on here.
Yeah, I saw that too. So.
We got a super chat. Oh, you can read it. I don't know anything about this movie, so I can't tell you.
What? I have to read this. Hold on. Thank you for the super chat. What about the scene in the house that Jack built where Matt Dillon cuts off Elvis Presley's granddaughter's breasts? Sam
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. Night of the Creep should be on there.
It's not.
I would put, if it was my list, I would put on there. It's not going to be on this list, though.
I mean, I don't think it's scariest. I don't think there's anything scary about Night of the Creeps. I think Night of the Creeps is a cool ass movie, though. But Somebody said, will they toss in like War of the Worlds? I hope not.
Creep Show. That hasn't been on here.
No, I don't think it's gonna get on here though.
Oh,
But I mean,
come
there are a
on.
lot.
They're gonna put shit on here like 30 Days a Night.
Oh, well, at least I don't know. Like, what would they use as the scene? You know, I would see I could see the raft
of
or
them.
something, but we're gonna say like, oh, I was so scared when the grass was growing on that guy's nose.
I would say the cake scene. Like, where's my cake? You know?
Oh, yeah, I think it's the thing stuck on a smash of his head.
How about Terminator? That's a good point too.
I would love to see Terminator. Trilogy of Terror, I would love to see on there too.
I thought Trilogy of Terror was already on there.
No, they showed a scene at the beginning, like when they would, at the beginning when they were
Ah.
just talking about the movies, but they didn't actually wasn't on there. Yeah, man, I guess there are a lot of good ones left.
There's a lot of
Oh
options.
no, Children of the Corn is going to be on here, isn't it?
I hope not.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. I don't think it should be this high, but I mean, I have a feeling they're not going to leave it out.
Has there been any of the main franchises that they haven't done yet? Like, I know Halloween hasn't been on there yet.
That's
So
the
you know
only
that's-
one. Hellraiser, Halloween.
Because they did, okay, they've done Candyman, they've done Nightmare on Elm Street, they've done Friday the 13th,
Chucky.
Child's Play,
No Texas Chainsaw yet, though.
Phantasm. They haven't done Texas Chainsaw. That'll definitely be high up there, yeah.
No, they haven't done Sleepaway Camp either.
They've got to do that scene. Like, if they're talking about, like, memorable scene, I don't know if that's a scary scene. I guess it
'Cause
kind
it's-
of is. Like,
They'll be like, no, it's normal. So
yeah, they can't do it. You're right, they can't. Because then there'd be a whole discussion.
Yeah.
They cannot do that. You're right.
Going back on it, we rewatched it for the show. We don't actually find it weird now. Like, it's not like it didn't, it doesn't really
It's like,
affect us
listen,
like it did before.
listen, we're good people. Like, we don't want any kind of trouble. Like, this scene is not aged well. Yeah.
They just didn't know what they were at the time.
That should be like, they should have a shirt that says Shudder's 101 Moments We're Good People. Please believe us. We
don't want to bother anybody.
no. I can't read that.
I can't. No, leave
but
it
it's
there.
amazing.
Oh yeah, no. Saw and Hostel will be on this list, no doubt. Saw and Hostel are here.
Yeah, Saw
covered.
definitely. I hope Hostel's not.
No, Lost Boys, and Fright Night are being left off this list.
Have you done the show yet? You haven't done that yet, have you? The Lost Boys
No,
Friday
I
Night
got
show?
it. I got it Friday night. We got to actually. Speaking of that, guys, we're already an hour 12 in. We like to keep it lighter. Let's start telling you what we have planned for the next 2 weeks. So tomorrow, what day is today? Wednesday. All right, so Friday I have a big Rad Pack show with Mela from Our Killer Podcast and Justin at Movie Watch Daily at 10 p.m. on my channel at Born to Be Rad. We got a big Rad Pack show talking all things Lost Boys versus Fright Night. We're hoping to have a lot of chat interaction, so come help us decide which is the better 80s vampire movie. That's on Friday. Now, what do you guys have coming up? Is it just Sunday or do you have some Saturday?
We've actually got something tomorrow, I'm pretty
Thursday.
sure. Unless I'm fucking like out of my mind. See, I can't keep up with all this stuff, man. I just come to like wherever anybody tells me to come to, and I like read like cue cards, and you know how it is. But I'm pretty sure that tomorrow we have a roundtable show. Hopefully, CK will tell me that I'm right about this. We have like the Patreon roundtable show where we'll be picking like our Halloween picks. So Halloween 2022, we'll be picking like, what films that we would bring to the table this year. And then we've got a huge show coming up, and I'm hoping to God, so the roundtable show is tomorrow night at 10 p.m. I'm hoping that he'll tell me when this show is too, because I don't remember the date. There's a huge show coming up, and it's a Romero show, and it's gonna look at this.
Whatever. What's
Kitty
up, Ken?
levels. Whatever the teleprompter says, you're gonna be reading.
New shirt. Uncle Bill goes scripts. It goes off script.
I never go off script. You have to keep that in mind. Like, I'm always like on teleprompter on this show.
Wes is teleprompting from his house.
Yeah. I just
Those
can't
other
keep up with all the shit, man. Especially like this month. Like we've done so much. There's so much stuff planned that I have no fucking idea.
Sunday we have a big show doing retro wrestling, talking Halloween
Yeah.
Havoc. So if you guys want to get some wrestling talk in, we're going to talk Halloween Havoc. What year was that?
95. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, 10 o'clock this coming Sunday, the 9th. There's going to be Halloween Havoc 1995 review and retrospective show, because that is by far one of the funniest goddamn pay-per-views that has ever been out, and that should be amazing.
Hogan had no mustache for some reason. He was trying to be like young Hogan.
So we've got, so he says 10:20 is the Forgotten Romero show with guests announced tomorrow. That's good. Let's see.
He's going to his calendar.
Well, that's all we got. I mean, so here's the things that I know. Tomorrow we got the round table. It's at 10 o'clock. We'll be talking
Friday's
Halloween picks. And then what's Friday?
That's me. That's Rad Pack.
Friday's Rat Pack, Friday Night versus Lost Boys, right?
Yep.
Okay. Which is, by the way, like I voted on that shit and it's neck and neck right now. It's like 49 to 51%, like people like picking one movie or the other. And then Sunday we've got Halloween Havoc 1995, 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the 20th, we've got the Forgotten Romero show. And I'm sure there'll be more shit after that. But the Forgotten Romero show is going to be fucking amazing. Once we talk about who the guests are and like what the kind of subject matter is going to be. I mean, you can kind of guess from that description, but still.
Yeah, and then we're going to do, I'm sure we're going to do some stuff for Halloween Kills. Halloween Ends. I'm sure we're also doing one later in the month of Halloween 3, the fall and rise of that movie, basically how it went from everybody hates it to everybody loves it. We're going to kind of talk about our experiences with that. So that's coming as well this month. So yeah, like you said, there's a lot of stuff coming. So we'll try to get everything out there onto the YouTube. So if you go to any of our YouTubes, you can just set reminders on the date so you guys don't forget. But yeah, I mean, we are at the 30s and 20s next week for this thing. So got a couple weeks left.
Sorry, I just had to, yeah. Can't wait to hear everyone's positive reviews.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if they do what like I think they're gonna do, then you can guarantee that movie's gonna get shit on more so than like a fucking field of cows.
But you know what though? I think it's like, I'm trying to stay away from stuff. I'm hearing rumblings about things, but in my opinion, it's kind of like maybe they need a swerve to kind of like they need to do something different to kind of put this thing back on the tracks here. I don't know.
I know what I would have him do. Like at the end of it, like he would just flat out murder Lori. And then Danielle Harris would walk on and she would be like, oh my God. And then he'd murder her. And then anybody else from the past like 10 films would come out and he would just murder them one by one. And then just like take a hand grenade and pull it out and blow himself up. And pray to God that would be the end of that fucking series. Because I am done with any kind of like
it's not. It's not. I mean, think about it. Think about how many times we've had that movie and we're only in 2022. I mean, that thing's going to live on forever in some form or fashion somewhere.
They're going to do the Roy Michael Myers gimmick. That'd be so awesome.
that's what I'm hearing actually.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Somebody says Michael Myers is going to die from COVID. Oh, that's Wes. Wes.
Yeah.
Maybe Tony Moran will be on. That's why they keep saying the fans are going to be pissed.
Michael Myers is a paramedic in disguise. Well, it's never happened.
So, guys, thank you so much for checking this out. This is episode 5. I think we've probably got 3 left. I think it goes until Halloween. So I think we got about 3, maybe 2. I don't know how they're going to do this. Probably 3. And make sure you go check out Dead Pit Radio on YouTube. Make sure to check out Dead Pit on Instagram. They're hyping over there. And Born to Be Rad on YouTube and on Instagram as well. Again, we both have Twitters as well. I'm not on there a lot, but heck, go on there and follow along and I'll add some more stuff. And guys, keep your eyes open because we have a lot of shows together and doing our own thing kind of all month long. So hopefully we'll keep you guys entertained. And thank you so much for checking this out. This is Garrett Born to Be Rad. And like always, stay rad and
stay dead. Bye.
Give us the thumbs up.
Up your butt.
Like, subscribe. And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right? And it'll notify you anytime that Dead Pit puts up new shit.
Or don't. I really don't give a if you do or
I
not.
want you to. I want you to.
I don't care.
Let's keep our community growing here on YouTube.
I don't like it. I don't want you to do nothing.
Listen, they need to do that, pal.
No, don't you dare touch it.
Thumbs up. Subscribe. And click that bell.
For this video officially, it's Oak Curlyjaws has a message for you. Go on over to shop.deadpit.com and go look at their Teen Public store right now. You got some new shirts like the Oak Curlyjaws official t-shirt, which is brutal and badass. You got the Yummy Gummy shirt with the captain himself on the shirt. You got Uncle Bill's face on a fucking shirt. You got the Final Girl shirt. You got all these shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Get them before they're all out, especially the new one, Bedtime 1039. It doesn't get better than that, so go on out. Check out these shirts at shop.deadpit.com. Go look at their Teen Public store. You're going to have a good old time. Get them all!
Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. Dead Pit on Patreon.com is the only place to check out a complete archive of the old Dead Pit radio shows all the way back from 2005 on, in addition to the midweek shows and fan commentaries, exclusive podcasts, and much more. Dead Pit on Patreon.com if you're interested. Tiers start at only $1.